Panic speaking, and I am back with a new Touchdesigner tutorial after I've been on holiday for 3 weeks, and now I get new energy for new tutorials. And in the background, as always, you can see what we are going to do today. So a while ago I created this kind of airbrush wild generative thing, and it's totally interactive, so it's controlled with my mouse right now, and when I hit 1 I can stop the floating of my brush, and when I hit 1 and 2 I can reset everything and start new and stop it by hitting 1. So we will have a look at this thing today. Also, in the beginning I thought it's like a airbrush, but the more often I look at it, it feels like some kind of cloth floating around. So also kind of cool to have this look at it. And also I found out that it's working kind of cool on a displacement, or as a displacement for images. So you could use that as a interactive displacement as well. So enough talking, and welcome on my screen. So you can see my default startup file in the background, and actually I will use a square resolution this time, so I'm switching it to a square resolution. And to get started, we will start with, I will delete that for now, and we will start with a circle. So create a circle, and I will use a lower resolution for now and copy my resolution and paste the reference here. So as always, I'm mentioning that this is my default startup file, which you can download on my Patreon, which allows you to switch between different resolution and sizes. So yeah, I will connect this to the background so we can see what's going on. And then let's make some changes to that circle. So the first thing I will do is change the radius of the circle, because I want it to be a little bit slower, to 0.03 and 0.03 on both axes, so it's nice and small. And another thing, I want this circle to be really soft, since it's supposed to be a kind of airbrush. So I'm turning up the softness to the maximum, so you actually can't really see your circle anymore, but that's perfectly fine, since we are using a feedback loop later, so it will make everything visible again. And the next thing we will do is we want this circle to move around and to follow our mouse. So I bring in a transform, which allows us to move this, and to transform it with our mouse movement, I bring in a mouse in and connect that mouse in to a null, which I will use to export. So I make this viewer active here, and then I'm using the TX on the x-axis and TY on the y-axis, and then you can see it slightly, it follows the movement of the mouse. Okay, so another thing I want this size of this circle to be scaled up and down regularly, and which gives our whole animation a more natural and more windy feeling. So Another thing we will insert is a LFO. An LFO is a channel which moves from one number to another number. In this case, on the type sine, it's -1 to 1. But in my case, I want it to be the Gaussian type, which moves from null to 1 and back. So I'm leaving everything on default here. And then I will connect that to a math, because I want to have a custom number here. So we have this null to 1, and within the math we can change the range under the range tab to a custom range, because I don't want the size of the circle to fully disappear. I just want the smallest number of our circle to be 0.5 and the biggest scale 2. So I'm changing this in here. And then I connect it to a null again, which I'm using to export the scale, and then I make the viewer active and export that on the scale. So now you can see we have this pulse going on. Okay, and then I will add a null, since we will create our feedback loop now. So after that null, I'm inserting a composite, and I will change the operation mode to over. And then let's create the feedback, connect it to the comp, and make this comp the target layer by dragging it onto the feedback. So now you can already see that we have a really soft brush going on, which is the first step we need. And then after that feedback, I'm adding a level. And in that level, I will change the brightness under post to 0.9. So our brush turns from white to black from time to time. And another thing I will insert is a keyboard in. Where is it? There it is. So we can easily reset our feedback loop. So export it on the pulse of this feedback, and then whenever we hit 1, we reset everything. Okay, so another thing after that level we will insert into that feedback loop is a transform. So we want the brush to be scaled up a little bit, so I will change the scale to 1.007, so we get this floating and moving thing you already saw in the beginning. And also I will change the shrink on the y-axis to -1, because I will show that in the end, because this has been a change I made in the end after the whole animation was visible, so I feel like it doesn't make any sense to explain that now. And also I inserted a little translate on the y-axis, like -0.001. So it's going down a little bit. I just felt like this looks nicer in the end. Both of this is not necessary for the animation to work. Just changes I made in the end. Okay, so now for the main effect of this thing which is floating around, we will insert a displace in this feedback loop now, and change the displace weight from 1 to 0.008. and leave everything else on default. And then I will copy my noise from my startup file, insert it, and then make some changes. So the first thing I will take care of is change the seed a little bit, and I'm working with a period of 2, and harmonics I'm using 10. And then I have changed the harmonic gain to 0.48 and also the exponent of 1.06 and amplitude of 0.3, and also I turned off the monochrome so we have some color. And another thing, we will change the pixel format from 8-bit fixed to 32-bit float RGBA. And then after that we head into the displays from here. So you might already see a little bit of what's going on, but let's move forward so we can see everything a little bit more clear. And alright, so after that feedback I'm bringing in a null again, and then we head into another feedback loop just so it records the movement we have now. So now we created our brush in the first feedback loop. So I kind of like to describe it like in Photoshop, when you create a brush you can do some settings and some behavior of that brush, and which is what we did in that first feedback loop. And then I am inserting another feedback loop so we can actually record our brush. So alright, create another comp, change the operation mode to over, and then create another feedback, connect it to the comp, and make this comp the target layer. And now we can see better of everything we are doing, since we are recording our brush on a kind of canvas, which is this digital Touchdesigner interface. So yeah, another thing, I want this whole thing we created to disappear a little bit from time to time, so I'm inserting a level in here where I change the opacity to 0.999 and also the brightness to 0.999. So it's nearly not visible that it's disappearing, but it gives us even more detail and more of this semi-transparent thing. So alright, so now we want to be able to reset our painting. So I could just use the keyboard in 1 again, but then we would reset everything again. And I want to be able to control the floating of my brush. So I want to be able to stop the brush from floating away, but also I don't want to reset my painting then. So I want to have full control over everything. So I decided to bring in another keyboard in where I'm using the key 2. So reset, chop the reference on the reset button, and then when I hit 2 I reset everything. When I hit 1 I'm just stopping my brush from moving around. So yeah, now hit 2 and reset everything. Sometimes you need to hit both of them at the same time because it just remembers where you've been before. So the best thing to do is hit 1 and 2 at the same time when you reset everything, and yeah. Alright, so now basically we created the simulation of everything, and now we will take care of some more details and some more looks we want to achieve. So one thing I did was bringing in a transform after this, so we can actually get some black background. So just change the alpha and make comp over background color active, so we have a black background. And then I had a little happy accident in the creating of this. So actually I made a level because I wanted to invert everything. And then I added a comp, connected those two, and I kind of liked the effect. And then I changed the operation mode to difference, and I liked it even more because we get some nice overlapping textures, and which gives us even more details to this whole animation before we combined the inverted and the non-inverted animation. So this was an accident which I appreciated a lot. And yeah, so now I wanted to have a more analog look and to have some more grain to this whole thing, because I aimed for a airbrush, and the airbrush usually has some soft texture to it. So I brought in a noise, and then I changed the noise type to random, and then you can already see that the random is giving us, with the color map of this one, a pretty nice and interesting look. But right now it's too grainy for my taste, so I played a little bit with the parameters and brought down the amplitude to 0.15, which makes the grain a little bit softer. And then I wanted a little bit of contrast, because right now it's really soft, and when you turn down the offset a little bit, so I brought it down to 0.13, which gives us more contrast than before. So we kind of have this animation we had in the beginning with the same contrast and everything, but now we have more of that crane and analog feeling going on. So nice and amazing. And now let's bring in some color in here. So I will insert a lookup this time. Usually I would insert a new noise and have my colors generated randomly, but this time I want to have a little bit of control over everything. So I'm bringing in a ramp, use this one as a reference for the resolution, and then use this as the second input of the lookup, and then I will make some changes to that ramp. So you could insert whatever color you like here, but I kind of like this yellow green color. So it's this neon green thing going on, and then I inserted, because I wanted to have even more green in here, some more green here, and I left the right color on white because I want the background to still be white. But yeah, this is up to you. If you change that, you can change the background too. So we'll keep that on white, but feel free to use different colors, more colors in this, so you can add as many colors as you want to have an even more abstract airbrush going on here. So this is kind of cool, but right now it's a little bit too static, and in my file I created first, I animated the noise we are using here, So I animated it by using abs time dot seconds, and I wanted it to move around really slow, so I multiplied it with 0.01. So it's just a little bit more dynamic. So you can see once we paint it, it's still moving around and gives us a more random aspect to everything. So yeah, so I'm deleting that colors now because I just like it more like this. And yeah, so another thing I mentioned in the beginning, if you want to use this on images, just insert a movie file in. I'm using that banana and then I'm using a fit with our default resolution, which I will export on that fit as reference, then insert a displace and just use the black and white one as an input here, and then I'm connecting it to the background, reset everything, and then I will bring down the displace weight to 0.1 or something even lower maybe. So, and then whenever you paint on it, you displace it wherever you had your mouse. So amazing. You could change the image from the banana to the butterfly maybe. That's kind of cool. So you have a fully controlled and interactive, but still random generated displacement. Kind of cool. Yeah. So that's it about the whole effect. I hope you will create cool generative paintings with it, and I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial. I hope you learned something. I hope you're staying healthy and happy and fine and okay, and insert many other nice words here. So hopefully see you next time. Have a good time and stay kind. Bye bye.